Hey scholars, welcome to your mid-year Regents review. You are halfway through the curriculum. You did units 1 through 7. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at the June 2014 Regents, which is what the scholars took last year. But only questions that we covered in unit 1 through 7. Really quick recap, Unit 1 is on function, 2 and 3 was on quadratics, Unit 4 is on complex number, Unit 5 is on radical and absolute, Unit 6, which is the end of our trimester 2, is on polynomials and rational, and then we start Unit 3 with probability. Alrighty, let's get starting. Alrighty, let's start with number 1. Which survey is least likely to contain bias? What does bias mean? So bias is just when the individuals or the groups from a population is not represented in a sample. So our choice is surveying a sample of people leaving a movie theater to determine which flavor of ice cream is the most popular, surveying the members of a football team to determine the most watched TV sport, surveying a sample of people leaving the library to determine the average number of books a person read in a year, surveying a sample of people leaving the gym to determine the average number of hours a person exercises. The only one that works is 1, that's least bias. If I randomly survey people coming out of the movie to find out about ice cream, that has nothing to do, it's least bias. Number 2, the expression 2a to the negative 4 is equivalent to. So remember, 2a to the negative 4 is the same thing as writing 1 over 2a to the 4th power. Remember, this is actually in parentheses, so this is the same thing as 1 over 2 to the 4th power, a to the 4th power, which will give us 1 over 16 a to the 4th. So remember, 2 to the 4th here is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 16 a to the 4th, choice 4. Now we're going to go ahead and skip number 3, because we haven't done that. Number 4, we have talked about this. Express in simplest form, square root of negative 18 minus square root of 32. So what we have to do is break these down. Negative 18, take away radical 32, negative 32. So remember, this can be broken down as 9 times 2 times negative 1. Let's write this a little better. Negative 1. And this is broken down as 16 times 2 times negative 1. So if I give everyone their own radical, this becomes 3i radical 2. Take away, this becomes, give everyone their own radical, 4i radical 2. Now I can go ahead and subtract because they have the same radical, the same number under the radical. 3i take away 4i is going to leave you with negative I radical 2, and this will be my final answer, which is choice 3. Okay, so the goal was to get everything, if you notice here, is the same number. That was our goal today, to make sure that they're the same number before I can go ahead and combine. Now, let's move along to question 5, 6, 7, and 8. We did all of this before, so let me clear these off. Teresa's comparing a graph of y to the 2x and y to the 5x. Which statement is true? The y-intercept of y to the 2x is 0, 2, and the y-intercept for 5 to the x power is 0, 5. That's not true. So we can go ahead and take that out. Neither of the graph has a y-intercept. That's also not true. Now we're left between choice 2 and 3. Both graphs have a y-intercept of 0, 1, and y equals 2x is steeper, and then 3 says y equals 5x is steeper. Now if you look at this and you graph this on your calculator, you will see choice 3 is correct. okay? All you had to do was graph this. Now, 6, the solution set to the equation. Okay, this is one of those where we solve them. So we have 2x minus 4 is equal to x minus 2. How do we go ahead and solve this for x? So first I need to get rid of my square root. I will take the square of both sides, that's cancel. 2x minus 4 is equal, what is x minus 2 equal to? If I do the box method, x squared minus 4x plus 4, and I'm going to go ahead and show you that here. Remember box method, x minus 2, x minus 2, x squared minus 2x, and this is a positive 4. Combining my like terms, I will get this right here. Now what I want to do is go ahead and make everything this, I'm going to have a quadratic, so make everything equals to 0. Minus 2x here and add 4, minus 2x, and then I'm going to add 4. This is cancel. I'm left with x squared minus 6x plus 8. Now this is a quadratic. How do I go ahead and solve this? So remember, what's my a, what's my b, what's my c? My a is 1, my b is negative 6, my c is 8. So when I do this, I'll have 8, negative 6. So I will go ahead and have negative 4, negative 2. So now I'm going to have 0 is equal to x minus 4, x minus 2. Using my zero property rule, I will see that x is equal to a positive 4 or x is equal to a positive 2. And that will be choice number 2. They're included. Alrighty, so again, get rid of your radical sign by squaring both sides right here. And then I do the box method up here, expanding that. And I want to make it equal to 0 because remember, our quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. This is my quadratic. So that's why I had to do here, I had to do the opposite, minus 2x and plus 4 on both sides. Alrighty, number 7 and 8. Let's clear this out. Number 7 and 8. The expression blank square is equivalent to, good. This is one of my box method. I'm going to draw my 2x2 box. And I'm going to go ahead and write this out. 2 take away 3 radical x. This is 2 take away 3 radical x. This I know will, oh, not 6. 2 times 2 is 4. This I know is going to be 4. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6 radical x. This is negative 6 radical x. Negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. This becomes what's under the radical. X times x is x squared. This here is the same thing as 9x. The square root of x squared, these cancel off and you're left with 9x. Now I want to go ahead and combine my like terms. So what I'm left with, 4, negative 6 minus 6 is negative 12 radical x, because I can combine those, they're like terms, plus 9x. This is my final answer, which goes down to choice 3. Alrighty, number 8 is our famous completing the square. Remember that? Alright, which step can be used when solving that by completing the square? So let's see, we have this. What is our 25 equals 0? What is the first step that we do in completing the square? We move our 25, we move this 25 here over. So this is our first thing that we do. What's the opposite of minus 25 is adding 25 to both sides. That's cancel. I'm left with x squared minus 6x is equal to 25. But that's not there. So remember the special thing. I take half of my b term, which is 6. So half of 6 is 3. And then 3 squared is 9. What do I do with this 9? that gets added to both sides. So I ended up having x squared minus 6x plus 9 is equal to 25 plus 9. So again, this 9 gets, just make a little note, this gets added to both sides. And looking at this, it will be choice number 1. You don't have to go ahead and solve it. You're just asking you which step can be used. All right, so far we did 7 questions. Now let's move it ahead. Remember, if you can pause the video, take your notes, whatever you need to do. Make sure you understand what we're going on. All right, number 9 we did. This is the only one we did on this page. Okay. Which of the following represents a function? So given a graph, how can you find a function? We need to find a function by the vertical line test. You need to know, what does an open circle mean? What does a shade circle mean? Open circle means the point is not included, and a closed circle means it's included. Now, doing a vertical line test, let's see. If I go ahead and do a vertical line, ooh, that doesn't look straight. If I go ahead and do a vertical line test, remember it's supposed to hit only one spot. Here, at this point, it hit 2 points. But if you notice, that's an open circle. This is an open circle. So that means the point is not included, which is fine. This will be my answer. Notice here, if I do it, it hit 2 points, and these are closed. Both of these are closed circles, meaning the point is included, and that's not going to work. If I do a vertical line test here, it's going to be hitting here, and then there are points in the middle here. Now, if I do it here, same reason, it hits twice. Okay? So you just needed to know which was open. Open means included, and then the closed means, I'm sorry, open means not included, the shaded or closed mean it's included. Number 10, 11, we haven't done as yet, so we didn't do 12 and 13. We did 14 and 15. 15 is kind of review from geometry. Now let's look at 14. It says, what is the product of the roots of a quadratic equation? So what do you know about the product? The formula for a product is C over 8. Now looking at what they give us, 2x squared minus 7x is equal to 5. That's not in the form, I need it in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Now, how do I make this into my quadratic form? I would minus 5 on both sides. When I minus 5, I get 2x squared minus 7x minus 5 is equal to 0. Knowing this, my a is equal to 2, my b is equal to negative 7, and my c is equal to negative 5. The product now says that your product is actually c, which is negative 5, over 2, which is choice 4. Okay, so this is my product, and just remember on a side note, the sum is the opposite of b over 8. Now let's see who remembers how to do number 15 from geometry. Do you remember? Let's clear this out. Number 15. What is the equation of a circle? Do you remember the formula for an equation of a circle? I don't think that's on your reference sheet, but it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. And remember here, and I'm going to write it over here, h comma k is your center, and r is your radius. Now, what are we given in this problem? It says it passes through the point 6, 5, and the center is at 3, negative 4. So I know my h and k is always going to be the opposite. So automatically 1 and 2 is out, because this is either a negative 3, and a positive 4. So we know it's between 3 and 4. So what do we do now? We need to find the radius. So this is a circle. The center is at 3. All right, so this is my center, which is at 3 comma negative 4. And then there is some random point, let's call this here 6 comma 5. I want to know what's the distance from this. This is my radius, correct? This is my r. So I need to find what is this r, and that's my distance formula. So my distance formula from geometry should be x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And where am I getting these points? Remember, this is my x1, y1, x2, y2. Doesn't matter which one's which. So now, the distance here from this point, let's call it, I don't know, A, B. So the distance between A, B would end up being my x2 is 6 take away 3 squared plus 5 take away negative 4. Notice I put the negative in parentheses. So this becomes square root of 3 squared plus 9 squared. This is ended up being 3 squared is 9 and 9 squared is 81. So this becomes the 90, square root of 90. So the distance between AB, which is up here, the AB is square root of 90. But remember, our formula says it's r squared. They've broken down the r squared. So how do we find this distance squared? So if I was to go ahead and square d, I will end up having the square root of 90 squared. And the radical and the square cancel, so d squared, which is the radius, is 90. So if I was to go ahead and just fill in my formula, this is my center. It's x minus 3 squared plus y plus 4 squared is equal to 90. And that will be my choice 4. So again, we have not touched this, but you did in geometry with me last year, Mr. Siegel. So you should be able to know my distance formula, which is right here, and then the formula for a square. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get rid of this. We're on number 16, 17, 18. Everything on this page we have covered. So the formula to determine continuous compound interest is A is equal to P ERT, where A is the amount of money, P is the initial investment, and R is the interest rate, and T is in times per year. Which equation can be used to determine the value of an account that has 18,000, so this will be my P, and an interest rate, which will be my R, and then this will be my T. So if I was to go ahead and write, my P is actually 18,000 E. Now we need to go ahead and make that percent 1.5, so my rate is 1.25%. We need to make that in decimal. So this in decimal is basically divide this by 100. We will get 0.0125. So that comes in the top. And then we have our time as 24 months, but in the formula it says time is in years. So 24 months, okay, where's my n, is equal to blank years. There are 12 months in a year, so we know that's going to be 2 years. So this will be times 2, which is choice 3. (17) is a little bit more complicated. What is the solution set of the equation 30 over x squared minus 3 plus 1 is equal to 5 over x minus 3? This is actually from Unit 6. So what we need to do is go ahead and break these down into a common denominator. This is a difference of squares, so we can write this as 30 over x minus 3 and x plus 3 plus 1 over 1. I'm just going to make them all into fraction, x minus 3. So our goal is to get everything that has the same denominator. So I'm going to go ahead and let's just get rid of this, and I want to get rid of the blues. Now I want to get rid of, here we are, I want to get rid of, and I'm going to come on here, everything needs to have the same denominator. So I need this to be x minus 3, x plus 3, and this over here also has to be x minus 3, x plus 3, hey. And I want it to equal to, and I'm going to come up here, it has to equal to something that has x minus 3 and x plus 3. So this is already the same, so I don't have to do anything. Now, how do I take this 1 and make it x minus 3 and x plus 3? I will multiply this by x minus 3, x plus 3, since I did that at the bottom. So at the top, it will be x minus 3, x plus 3. Then it says equal 5 over x minus 3. So all I have to do here is multiply this by x plus 3. X plus 3. This will be 5x plus 3. Now I'm going to just combine these into one big equation since they have the same denominator. This will be 30 plus x minus 3 and, oops, x minus 3 and x plus 3. I'm going to take these off because I need some space. Now what I want to do is go ahead and simplify these out. So this becomes 30 plus x squared minus 3 over, I can keep the bottom factored, it doesn't matter because eventually this is going to be canceled off. This is 5x plus 15, I'm distributing my 5. This becomes x minus 3 and x plus 3. Now the reason why I made both sides, the denominator, the same is so that I can eventually go ahead and drop these off. So I'm going to have something that looks like 30 plus x squared minus 9 is equal to 5x plus 15. That's the reason why I need to make the denominator the same. I'm going to go ahead and combine my like terms. So what am I going to do? Here I'm going to have x squared plus 21 is equal to 5x plus 15 minus 5x on both sides. I'm going to have x squared minus 5x plus 21 is equal to 15. Now I need to make this into a quadratic. Add 15 on both sides. It's adding, so I subtract 15 on both sides. And this becomes x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. So I have my quadratic. My a is 1, my b is negative 5, and my c is positive 6. Let's quickly do our x method. So two numbers, when I multiply it, I get 6, and when I add it, I get negative 5. That's negative 3 and negative 2. So now if I go ahead and factor this out, x minus 2, x minus 3 is equal to 0. I can then go and use my zero product property rule. I will get x is equal to a positive 3 and x is equal to a positive 2, which is choice 1. Alrighty, number 18. The graph below shows the average price of gasoline in dollars for the year 1997 to 2007. Questions say, what is the approximate range on the graph? So range, you have to think about, is that my x value or my y value? You should be able to tell me it's your y. So automatically 1 and 2 is out. My domain on the other side, that's my x value. So I know this is my y-axis and this is my x-axis. So I want to find the range. So I'm going to start with the lowest point on my graph and go straight over. And then the highest point will be somewhere here, straight over. If you notice, my lowest point is a little below 1, and the only answer choice that matches that is choice 3. So this is approximately 1.9, and this is a little bit, actually this line is crooked. This should be somewhere coming straight down below 2.50. Alrighty? So let's keep this going. On the next page, we have number 19, which we should have known. This is from Unit 1. If f of x is equal to 2x squared minus 3x plus 1, and g of x is x plus 5. Questions say, what is f of g of x? So first of all, what is g of x? We know that g of x is in red, which is x plus 5. This becomes f of x plus 5. What does this mean? This means that wherever I see x in my f of x function, which is in green, I will replace it with x plus 5. So I will have something that looks like 2x plus 5 squared minus 3x plus 5 plus 1. This is a plus 1. I'm going to go ahead and do my box method. So for this here, I'm going to use the box method. And then here, I'm going to distribute my negative 3. When I do that, I'm going to end up having 2x squared plus 10x plus 25 minus 3x minus 15 plus 1. Then I'm going to go ahead, distribute my 2 before I can combine like terms. I'm going to get 2x squared plus 20x plus 50 minus 3x minus 15 plus 1. So when I combine like terms, I see there's only 1x squared, so this becomes 2x squared. There's only one term that has x squared. I see it's a plus 20x and a minus 17, so this will give me a positive 17x. And then the last thing I see is that there's a plus 50, minus 15, and then a plus 1, which will give me a positive 36. And this becomes my answer, which is choice number 1. 20 we haven't done, 21 we haven't done, and we did 22. So let's take a look at 22 and 23 on this page. Here we go. A school team consists of 3 juniors and 5 seniors. How many different groups can be formed that consist of 1 junior and 2 seniors? So the first thing you ask yourself, does the order matter? That's my first question. If the order matter, I'm using permutation. If the order does not matter, I'm using combination. So in this case, order does not matter. So I'm going to go ahead and use combination. This and is our keyword. This is and, means this is when we multiply. So our task is asking for 1 junior and 2 seniors. So 1 junior, there are 3 juniors, so it will be 3 choose 1 times 3 choose 2 seniors, which is 5 choose 2. If I was to go ahead and do this, it will be 3 times 10 is equal to 30, which is choice 3. Alrighty, so this was 30. Now, it says, let's clear this because I need some space. 23, this is where we are. For which of the value of k would the roots of the equation 2x squared minus 5x plus k equals to 0? So, it has to be a real and rational. We know a real is when the discriminant does not have a negative sign, and we know a rational number is any number that can be written in the form of a fraction. So in this case, my a is 2, my b is negative 5, and my c is k. So this is what we're going to find for value of c. So in order for us to find this k, where my question mark is, we need to use the discriminant formula. NaNT. So this is given in the reference sheet. It's what's under the radical, which is b squared minus 4ac on our quadratic formula. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick numbers from our answer choice for c. So the first one here, it says 1. So in this case now, c would be equal to 1, and I want to check that out. So I will have b is negative 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times 1. This is 25, take away 8. And then we need to make sure that our answer, when we get our answer, it goes ahead and we don't have a irrational number. So 5 squared, negative 5 squared has to be in parentheses, is 25. This will go ahead, the difference is 17. So what I do, I take the square root of 17, which if I work on my calculator will give me 4.123 and so forth. When the number keeps going on, this is known as my irrational number. And again, I'm looking for a rational number, so choice 1 is out. What about if my c was actually negative 5? So let's see what I have. Negative 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 5. This is 25. Take away 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 5 plus 40. 5 is 40. This will give me a 65. Now when I take the square root of 65, I will get 8.062, and it keeps going on. Again, this will be irrational. So choice 2 is out. What about if I'm a 3? I have negative 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times 0. 25 take away 0 is 25, and we know the square root of 25 is 5. This is a rational number. So then I know it's going to be choice 3, because 25 is also a real number. Alright, that's it for that page. Let's flip it over to question, or we have 2 more questions for the multiple choice section. So let's clear this out. We have 24 and 25, which we know already. So this cliff diver on a Caribbean airline jumps at a height of 105 feet with an initial upward velocity of 5 feet per second. An equation that models the height h of t above the water in feet of the diver in time elapsed t, which is in seconds, is h of t is equal to negative 16t squared plus 5t plus 105. So this is my equation that I'm going to be working with. How many seconds to the nearest hundredths does it take the diver to fall 45 feet before the starting point? So first of all, he's starting at 105, and I want to know where will he be 45 seconds after. So it's 60. That's my magical number I'm working with. So I know that formula h of t is going to be 60 feet. What is the time? How many seconds to the nearest hundredth they're asking me? So it will be 60 is equal to negative t squared plus 5t plus 105. Since this is a quadratic, I'm going to make everything equals to 0 by minus 60 on both sides, and I will get plus 45. Now looking at this, my A is negative 16, my B is 5, and my C is 45. I can go ahead and do my X method, or I know the quadratic formula always work, which is on my reference sheet. So what I can do using my quadratic formula on a reference sheet always works. It's going to be minus 5 plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is again 5 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 45 over 2 times negative 16, and I'm going to take this up here. This actually works out to be x is equal to minus 5 plus or minus. I put everything under the radical sign, it becomes 2905 over negative 32. Okay? Now, from this, remember, we can have two answer choice. We can either have x is equal to -5 plus the square root of 2096 over -32, or we can have x is equal to -5 minus square root of 2096, 2096, where am I getting that? 2905, not 2096, 2905. This is 2905 over, and again, what is it going to be over? It's going to be over my -32. Now, all you have to do is put that in the calculator just as is. This comes out to be -1.528, and this works out to be 1.84. Now, the questions say how many time in seconds. There cannot be a negative time, so automatically we reject that, and my other answer would be choice 2. All right? You can never tell the time in negative. Now, the last question for the multiple choice section, if I clear this out, says the number of possible different 12-letter arrangements of the word in trigonometry is represented by. So first of all, if we're representing arrangement of letters, so it's saying does the order matter? Yes, it does. It depends on how we order this. So it's going to be P, 12 letters, choose 12. There are 12 letters here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now we have to look for repetitions. There is a T and a T, so that becomes 2 factorial. There is an R and an R, that's also 2 factorial. And then I see the O's, there are 2 O's, so that becomes 2 factorial, which works out to be choice 3. This is the same thing as P, 12, choose 12 over 8. And that's an easy one. Choice 3 is my answer choice. Alrighty, so we have not done 26, 27, 28, 29. Let's skip it all the way to number 30. We have not done anything else. Let's go all the way to number 30. Here we are. Now this is a 2-point question, super easy question. It says the absolute value of 2x minus 3 is greater than 5. Now remember when we talk about absolute value, there you can always split this up. You have 2x minus 3 is greater than 5, or 2x minus 3 is less than -5. Go ahead and solve this. I will add 3 on both sides, which some of you don't even need to write. I have 2x is greater than 8, and then I have x is greater than 4 by dividing both sides by 2. Now that's one of my answer choice. Let's see what's going on here. Add 3 on both sides. I have 2x is less than -2, and then I have x will be less than -1, again by dividing by 2. So solve that algebraically is telling you that these two are my answer. This is my answer along with that. So there are 2 answer choices for this. Now let's keep it going. We have not done 31, but we did do 32. Let's see what that looks like. Conjugate. This is multiplying binomial. I have something that looks like x plus yi, and I want to multiply by the conjugate. So the conjugate of this is just making the sign in the middle the opposite. So in this case, it will be negative. Now I will go ahead and multiply these 2 binomials by using the box method, or you can use FOIL. Either one works. This is plus x minus x to the y. Now I'm going to fill in my blanks. This will be x squared. This will be xyi minus xyi. Negative times a positive will be a negative. And then this will be a, oh, I'm sorry, I put an extra x here. This should be a yi. So a negative times a positive is a negative. This is y squared, I squared. Then I'm going to combine my like terms, which I notice minus xyi and positive xyi, those cancel. So I'm going to be left with x squared minus y squared, I squared. The question says simplest form, which reminds us that I squared is equal to -1. So I can actually simplify this even more. X squared minus y squared, parentheses, -1. Negative times a negative is a positive, and then my final answer would be x squared plus y squared, which is, we all know when we multiply conjugates, that's the shortcut to it. Number 33 we have not done. Number 34 is coming up soon. We are going to number 35. You actually saw this question on finals last year. So it says the function f of x is graphed below on the set of axes. On the same set of axes, graph f of x plus 1 plus 2. Now, the hint for this is that we need, let's call this, we said f of x. We need to find what is the graph. This is a graph. We need to find a function. We know that this is a parabola, so it will be x squared. So it will be x squared plus something. How do we know what it is? Remember, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my y-intercept. It's negative 4, and that's what my graph is. So if you graph f of x is equal to x squared minus 4, you will get this graph. Now they said on the same set of axes, I want to find f of x plus 1 plus 2 outside. So what does that mean? All that means is that wherever I see x, I'm going to be replacing it with x plus 1, and then I'm going to add 2 outside. So this becomes x plus 1 squared minus 4, and I'm adding 2 more outside. Here we go. Plus 2. Box method, I can factor this out to be x squared plus 2x plus 1, and this will be minus 2. Go ahead and simplify this down. I get negative 1. So let's call this g of x. It doesn't matter what I call it. Now the questions say, can you graph this on your table? So this means that my graphing that on the calculator, I'll have a point here, and something that looks like this. You should have a pretty parabola that looks something like this. And you can get these points from your table. You just go to menu. After you graph this, go to menu, table, and then go to option number 1 where it says split screen table. Alright, we got number 36, which is what we did in unit 6. And it's a tough question. So express the simplest term. So one thing we need to remember is 1 over 1 is the same thing as 1 as a fraction. So I'm going to rewrite this out in terms of fractions. So I have 1 over 1 plus 3 over x divided by 1 over 1 minus 5 over x minus 24 over x squared. My goal is to make all of these have the same denominator so I can combine it. So in this case, our common denominator is x. How do I get from 1 to x? I multiply by x. Remember, what I do to the bottom, I do to the top. In this case, I will multiply by 1. So here I'll have x plus 3 divide. In the bottom here, I want to have x squared. So I know this is times 1 times 1 times x, because x times x will give me my x squared, and here will be times x squared times x squared. So on top, I will have x squared minus 5x minus 24. Now, the part is, when we change this division sign right here to a multiplication, what do? This first fraction stays the same. I change this to a multiplication, or we can use the dot because we already have x. But what do I do here? I flip this. X squared is the same as x times x. I'm just going to expand it out. And this is x squared minus 5x minus 24. So from here to here, we got to remember to flip my final. Alright, so because I need to in simplest term, I'm going to simplify the bottom. My a is 1, my b is negative 5, my c is negative 24. Using the x method, my top becomes negative 24, and the bottom is negative 5. So my two factors are negative 8 and a positive 3. So the top becomes x plus 3 over x times x, and the bottom I'm going to write as x minus 8 and x plus 3. Now what can I go ahead and cancel? Remember, anything in the numerator and denominator I can cancel. So this x plus 3 goes with this x plus 3, this x is out, that x is out. And the top, I'm left with x, and the bottom is x minus 8, which is my final answer. Alrighty? So in simplest term, these are actually 4 credit questions. Now we need to do 37th and 38, and that's it for today's review. So 37 is actually pretty cool. So 37 says I want to solve for x algebra. Remember, my exponent here, the largest exponent is 3. That tells me I will have 3 solutions. So what I want to do is make all of this equal to 0. I will have x to the third plus 5x squared, bring my 4x over, and bring my 20 over. Make that equal to 0. I know I can factor this with ABC method because my highest exponent is 3. So what I can do, these two have something in common, and then these two have something in common. So I can factor these out. This has an x squared in common, and I'm left with x plus 5. And over here, it has a negative 4 in common, and I'm also left with x plus 5. Now, this is similar to what we have been doing when a is bigger than 1, when we factor a quadratic. So this becomes x plus 5, and then x squared minus 4 equals 0. Using our zero product property, I know I have x plus 5 equals to 0, and I have x squared minus 4 is equal to 0. In this case, I minus 5 on both sides. I have x is equal to negative 5, which is one of my answer. Let's solve this side. Add 4 on both sides. X squared is equal to positive 4. How do I get rid of the square? By taking the square root of both sides. This is cancel. X is equal to plus or minus 2. Remember, when you take the square root of a number, you get 2 choices. So my 3 answers, x is equal to negative 5, x is equal to negative 2, or x is equal to a positive 2. And again, 4 points for you. All right, the last question to cover what we did in this class, because we haven't done number 39, is number 38. Number 38 has to do with probability. When Sarah rents a movie, the probability that it's a horror movie is 0.57. This is my P. This is my success of the event happening. So if my P is 0.57, then my Q, or my failure, is 0.43, the difference, because I need to add my P and Q. Remember that? We need to add P plus Q has to give me 1. Of the next 5 movies she rents, determine the probability that to the nearest hundredths, meaning 2 decimal places, that it will be no more than 2 in horror. So no more than 2 meaning it can be 0 or 1 or 2. So we need to find the probability of each. So the probability of each will be, there are how many movies? 5 movies, choose if there's no horror movie. So it will be the success of getting a horror movie is 0.7, and then the failure would be 5. What if she gets 1 horror movie? So it will be 0.75 to the first power, and then 0.43 to the 4th power, and then what if she gets 2 of them? 0.57 to the 2nd, and 0.43 to the 3rd. Now, what does OR mean? So remember we said OR is a little special. It means something special. Whenever you see the word OR, that means we add. So I'm going to take the probability of these 3 and add it together. It says to the nearest 10th, which is 2 decimal places, but first I'm going to do 4 decimal places and then round my final answer. You can go ahead and check these numbers in your calculator, make sure I'm correct. Hopefully I didn't make a mistake. Add them all together, I get 0.3704. So this is the number here that I need to round to the nearest hundreds, which means 2 decimal places. To round this, I will get my final answer as 0.37. And this will be my final answer choice. So that's the probability that Sarah will get no more than 2 rentals that are horror movies. All right, guys, I am extremely proud that you made it this far. Remember, pause the video, go back, see if you have any questions, come see myself, or, just go back, review. And remember, practice makes perfect, and if you're determined to pass this Regents, we can work on that, okay? So, good luck until I see you later. Bye.